Super Tournament, Season 1.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the final day of the GSL Super Tournament. It's been a crazy 4 days. We are almost to the end.
Yeah, and just 3 matches here tonight, the round of 4 and the finals. 3 Protoss remain, 1 Zerg. It's been a lot of crazy games to get here, to be honest.
That's right. We're going to go to a quick interview with our players in a second here and see what their thoughts are, starting with Classic versus Dark. Before we get this started, so here's the lineup of the Final Four. It's 3 Protosses and 1 Zerg. The Terrans did not make it. Classic versus Dark, a best of 5, and after that we'll be doing Hero versus Stats.
Yeah, and I mean, two awesome matches. Of course, Classic been having a bit of a hard time against Zerg late in these tournaments. Let's hear about it here.
In 2018, our player who's now made it to the semifinals in every tournament. You've been very consistent. Yeah, I've been putting a lot of effort in. I'm really hungry to have a win, but so far it's only the Final Four. Hopefully today I'll be able to defeat Dark. You and Dark are constantly meeting in tournaments, is that correct? Yeah, it's like my destiny, but it's like a bad destiny. A lot of times when I face off against Dark, I always end up losing. Yeah, I actually hate facing off against Dark. I don't even like looking at the guy. I feel like whenever you're in a very important match, Zerg are always able to stop you. Is that correct? Do you have a hard time against Zerg? She's asking. Yeah, I always try hard. I always try hard to come up with a solution against Zerg. It's really difficult. Since I've been taken out and faced many losses against Zergs before, this has overall become a phobia of mine, a fear of mine. If I can defeat Dark today, I think maybe I can overcome this curse, though. So before we start our games, do you have any determinations or anything you want to share? I think that facing Dark in the semifinals is really tough for me, but I'm just going to do my best. I'm really hoping I can win this entire tournament. Okay, thank you very much, Classic. Now over to Dark. Again, you're here in the semifinals. How are you feeling right now? In the past, I even had a hard time getting to the round of 16, but it seems like lately, I've had an easy time making it to the semifinals. I've been doing it in every single tournament I've been in, but I really want to win this time around. Gary says, I think you're the only Zerg here, and it's only Protoss. So what's your take on that situation? I think that I disapprove of this situation. I think it represents the balance right now. I think everybody watching and all the fans can see that I'm the only remaining Zerg, and people are probably wondering how I'm going to survive this situation. He says there's so many problems because Zerg's been nerfed. So once more, you're facing off against Classic. Seems like from his interview, he's a little apprehensive. What's your take on it? Dark said, whenever I'm facing Classic, I'm pretty confident. He says he hopes to meet him more in the future. Yeah, I was defeated by him, I think, only once before. So I'm not too worried going into this match. Any thoughts before this starts? And he says, just as usual, let's get me into the, excuse me, he says, I'll see you again in the winner's interview. Okay, we're moments away from getting this going.
Yeah.
It is interesting, 1 Zerg and 3 Protosses. 3 very different Protosses, by the way.
Well, the good Zerg players got eliminated by some good Terrans for the most part.
I think we should end up with Dark in the finals here. I think that's not a crazy assumption, but it would be exciting to see Classic actually move on. He's really run up against a wall here. The fact that he's always getting to this phase of tournaments and then getting eliminated by Zergs, this is becoming a bit of a curse if it does repeat itself here today.
He has a very hard time with that matchup compared to the other two currently. And Dark is very, very good as EVP. I hope that this is a good, close match, but I mean, you guys have seen Classic's PVZs lately. When he gets this deep in the tournament, like he'll crush the weaker guys, but he hits people like Rogue and Dark, and everything falls apart.
Yeah. Dark definitely with a very solid understanding of how to navigate as a Zerg player all the way to the late game, where Dark is, I guess, along with Rogue, the best player in the world. Put Rogue a couple percentage points ahead of him, but
sure.
Dark's late game is godlike. So I'm curious what exactly Classic's going to try to do this time around, whether that be him trying to stop these games from ever going to late game with timing attacks, or try to go head-to-head with Dark in that situation where Dark is so dominant. Of course, in a best of 5, you have to have a variety of different approaches.
Well, I tell you, we saw stats in his approach against Solar previously just kill a ton of drones over and over and over and over. Maybe Classic will try something like this, the proxy Stargates, just trying to get in there with the Adepts and kill off as many drones as possible. Certainly worked out for stats. So Classic is very good at that type of build anyways.
Classic, we're really seeing Classic 2.0 starting in 2018 here. He's actually been a much more dominant force. He was for a little bit the best player in the world for like maybe 1 month period. Really dominant, really killing it.
He killed an SSL, he killed a GSL, he won a very stacked IM.
He got pushed a little bit to the back, into the shadows compared to some of these other Protoss players, especially players like SOS. Now he's back. He's been playing very well, but he keeps hitting that wall over and over. Final 4 after Final 4, losing to Zergs. So this is a moment possibly for some redemption here from Classic.
Oh, yeah. If he can beat Dark here, I think he is the favorite anyways. His PvP is super duper strong right now, but those other guys are tough ones as well, of course. It's going to be a good day, no matter what. Even if you're a Terran player, this is a good day of StarCraft.
And keep in mind that on the other side is Dark, who has also not been able to have the breakout performance that he wanted to have. Dark's been dominating for several years now, but here in 2018, he's also not getting past the Final 4.
Yeah, that's true. He doesn't really have that big tournament win that he's looking for. Like, he's won some stuff in the past, but he doesn't have any wins at GSL. Nothing over here at Afrika TV. And, this isn't a Code S, but a Super Tournament is a really solid win. And I do think he's favored here as well. I think he is going to win this. I look at everyone that's left over, and I think that Dark outperforms each and every one of them with his Zerg versus Protoss versus their Protoss versus Zerg.
Yeah, it seems like Dark, he's a safer bet for sure. But anything can happen, man. Guys, do tell your friends to join us. If you're unfamiliar with our format, we've had best of 5s in a bracket format the entire way through this tournament. There was no group selection, no round robin, nothing like that. Once you lose, you are out. We will have these 2 best of 5s, and from there we just go directly into the finals. This is also a rare thing to have semifinals and finals on the same day, especially for the kind of work we do out of this studio. So stamina is going to be key for these guys, I should say the one player who's actually going to come out on top. Also, to start things off, we're going to be on the map Acid Plant.
Okay, Acid Plant just to start here. I mean, obviously we see it's a Classic pick, but not very surprised at vetoes overall. Of course, that last final match, not going to have any vetoes. We are going to have to see Darkness Sanctuary.
Yeah.
If it gets that long, of course. You never know. One-side finals, possibly, considering how good the tournament has been.
So we got our players joining into the lobby right now. Classic is going to have a pretty wide, I should say, a big variety of different strategies coming into this. Dark, I don't think he does, as long as he can react to the Protoss. And that's kind of what Dark does.
Yeah.
Dark is also very good at holding off attack after attack after attack until he's at this phase of the game where he can finally swallow up his opponent's army and crush through. So I do hope to see a decent amount of timing attacks here from Classic, trying to mix it up, play a little bit unorthodox. Again, this is one of the hardest players in the entire world to do that against. When Dark plays, it looks like he's almost cheating. Like, he just reacts to everything so well. He's got a good instinct. Even if he doesn't see everything that's going on, he usually has He can see even in some of the slightest movements that a Protoss will do or what Protoss is trying to hide. A lot of times that'll be enough to telegraph to Dark what's going on, and he'll hard counter it.
And even if you deal a lot of damage to Dark, he's one of the best Zergs at coming back. He really knows how to utilize lower drone counts and a weaker position and figure out holes in his opponent to get back into the game. So should be a good match. Here we go, Tasteless.
Our game's loaded up on the map Acid Plant. Game 1, Classic versus Dark in the GSL SuperTournament.
GSL SuperTournament, Season 1, Semi-Finals, Match 1. Classic.
Gas before gate.
He's up to something.
Yeah.
Dark.
It's definitely not something that you see too often. He's sending the probe back into his base. Not surprised about that. You're going to get gas before gate. You're not going to scout quickly.
Only one probe mining now. He's throwing the second one in there. Okay, so let's see exactly how this game pans out. By the way, we got a lot of people in the studio today. Glad to see that you guys could make it. It's going to be a kick-ass night tonight.
Yeah. So, some more signs, some more fans out there. Some French people, I think.
That's right. This is, we love you guys. Thanks for coming down. This is just going to be so sick. I'm actually also especially excited for this PvP mirror matchup we got coming up.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be very good. Now, speaking about this, the fact that he went gas first, the one thing that I think it does show us is that this won't be a reactionary build really at all.
No, I don't think so.
It has to be something very precise and very planned because he just has a bit more gas than you're used to. So looking at it, what this could be, the way that his probe is moving, this could be a very quick Stargate. But what he might be trying to do here is start Warp Gate and Stargate at the same time because that will throw a Zerg off.
Yeah, instead of it being one or the other, it just starts up right away. And the time it takes for the Overlord to get here, I don't think there's anything that would directly reveal to Dark right off the bat that anything's out of the ordinary. So this is a very specific build chosen here by Classic, and I think it's a good build to start the game off.
Specifically with the Stalker, instead of trying to trick him out with the Warp Gate upgrade, the Stalker does a very similar thing. If you see a Stalker, oftentimes it'll mean something like DT drop.
Right.
You get the Stalker to push the Overlord out, right? And the Stalker, like with the normal build order, it doesn't fit so well, the gas, to get the Stalker. But the Overlord, you can easily click on that gas, and if this is something that Dark is normally checking, which he probably doesn't, to be honest, my guesses would be that he doesn't because no one really does these gas first builds, then he might be able to look at that and say, oh, he could have a fast Stargate. And in fact, look at that scouting.
Yeah, he's looking for it. Now, the first Oracle's being made, but this is very, very thorough here by Dark, so he sees this right away. Not bad. Start here by Dark for sure. I don't know if this means that it's going to not be as effective of an opening here from Classic, because I feel like overall it's not going to be tough for Classic to navigate this into an ordinary game anyways.
No, I think that this isn't really going to do any damage, this Oracle, but that Oracles oftentimes don't do damage, so it's not like the end of the world. You kill the Overlord right off the bat with the Stalker, which can be okay, but when you proxy an Oracle, you really do want to get kills because you are going to eventually lose that Stargate. So that's kind of like a sunken cost in a way. Wow,
he actually took a beating on that, only killing 2 drones. Of course, that damage on the Oracle is permanent, so that's a bit unfortunate.
Looks like a pretty quick Ro.4 in here, along with the layer. Over on Classic side, going into Robo, so a pretty standard follow-up for him.
So the Oracles are going to try to dive in once more. Again, one has been pretty badly injured from those Queens. And starting to get a few more drones. It looks like the Queens are not quite in the ideal position.
Yeah.
And that was a good job there by Classic, making up for, I guess, lackluster performance early on.
Yeah, look at that. He's actually picking off quite a bit over here.
Yep. So this is a great start now for Classic. The opening overall has paid off.
Yeah.
Even though it was spotted, perhaps it would have done more had Dark not been so diligent about checking everywhere on the map. There's a Warp Prism on the way, as well as 4 more gateways.
Yeah, and he has no Twilight whatsoever. So this is just going to be a gateway unit push with a Prism. Like, that's, you're just going to have sentries, maybe some stalkers, maybe some zealots, adepts, whatever, but not like he has glaives or charge or anything like that.
Now, this is strong. It's not, in some senses, obviously it's always better if you had glaives on your adepts, but the timing of this is going to be awkward.
Yeah.
This is not when Zerg normally get hit, so this could throw him off. And this attack's going to be coming out in a second here, with the 4 sentries now in the Warp Prism.
And the Oracle's kind of keeping Dark busy at the moment. Dark does not have a lot of units. Look at this, the third base going down. That's kind of a placekeeper nexus for the time being. This attack has to hit.
Does he just push with this, or does he want to do anything like try to warp in at the ramp?
No, I think you just push the third. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you've got 2 Oracles. Look at that. That's a ton of sentries. A few more units coming down right now. There's good damage output there and a lot of map control with the, just controlling the flow of everything with your Oracles.
So now Dark knows what's coming, but he only has a few seconds to try to gear up and respond in time. Nothing really to deal with force fields, where you see 1 Ravager being made. The arc here for Dark is actually pretty healthy, but I still think there's a high chance that Classic can push through, and he's going to try to do that right now.
It looks like the Queen's targeting down those Oracles first. A ton of force fields coming out, and 1 Vial actually does hit some units right there, but the Sentry's taking a ton of damage from these Roaches.
Yeah, it's still these Stalkers in the back, but Dark is beginning to regroup over here. Now, the Stalkers, if they get high enough a number, could snowball, especially with the Queens not having any more transfuse energy.
He's taking quite a bit of damage on this high ground, though. Good defense from Dark thus far. Oh, the Prism goes down. 16 more Roaches on the way. This is not working, and he canceled his 3rd Nexus during this time.
Yeah, so this has to work right now, and it's unimaginable that this would be stopped, or that this could not be stopped here, because with no Warp Prism, no way to reinforce, and these Roaches continuing to pop out of the hatchery. From here, it's actually going to be, I would say, almost impossible for Classic to win this game, because he just didn't. He's going to make his 3rd again now. It's sort of after the fact.
Yeah.
But when you do a strategy specifically like this, which is, here's what's weird about it. It's good. It's on paper not as good as a more standard push he does, but because it's less common, it could throw a really good player like Dark off.
Yeah.
Like, you can only do a build like we saw Classic do against somebody who's one of the very best in the world. Because Dark picks up on so many subtle things. But because that Warp Prism was gunned down and the damage couldn't continue, everything's late now for Classic.
Yeah, like, seriously late. He's just chrono boosting out +1 and Immortals right now, finally getting a Twilight to, get his charge upgrade. But Dark is in such a demanding position, a demanding lead. I mean, look at what he's doing right now, right? He's taking another base. He's just kind of controlling everything by walking around with Roaches, which forces anti-Roach tech, which makes the Spire transition perfect here. It's not like you're going Blink from here, because you'll die to most everything he'll do. And when the mutas come, he's in deep trouble at that point.
Yeah, I respect the fact that Classic is trying to hang on, but I think this should be fairly easy for Dark to steer this game into a win. Especially, as you were saying, Artosis, when that Spire tech is up. But still, cool opening from Classic for Game 1. This is kind of exciting to see that he really had something very mapped out.
Yeah, it was a very prepared build. You could really tell, even from the gas first, the very first moments of the game, you could tell that Classic really had a plan. Unfortunately, it doesn't go well here. And Dark, I mean, you look at what Dark has. He's about to have his +2 upgrade, a ton of Lings joining him. No more Stargate, so you can't make Phoenixes. Like, I mean, from here, it's so hard to imagine holding on for Classic.
Okay, he's beginning to come up now over on this side. This is a crazy amount of units, and force fields are basically useless with this many Ravagers up here. Lings hitting from the bottom as the Ravagers and Roaches continue to press forward. And I think this is just too much, especially with the additional reinforcements coming from the bottom like this.
And it's pretty funny, 9 mutas are being made during this, as if they even had a chance to live through the initial attack.
Yeah, so Classic is most likely going to tap out here, and we'll have to go to Game 2, but Dark already with a 1-0 lead. GG.
All right. Dark not putting up with any of these shenanigans. That Ling Scout, a very important part of this game, because the Stalker will throw most Zergs off. You know, you see that Stalker, and You think, okay, this is probably an Archon drop or something like that.
You're going to harass or you're going to try to do some kind of crazy tech, but you're not going to come in with this really abnormal, clunky amount of units and just try to blindside me out of a macro game.
Yeah, everything about that game was really cool from Classic, but I mean, it fell on deaf ears. Like, Dark never really took any damage that game, did he? Like, he lost a few drones to the double Oracle, but just held on against everything. No problem.
So we're going to go on to map number 2. It's going to be on the map Neon Violet Square. Classic's had a hard time against Zergs. He's had a hard time against Dark before. Dark is the favorite. He's already got this 1-0 lead. We had a very cool opening from Classic. It was very intelligent. Unfortunately, it just did not pan out for him. Let's see what other strategies he has. I think it was a wise decision on his part, Classic's part, I should say, to open up in a very unorthodox fashion. It gives Dark a little bit less time to get a handle on how Classic's playing right now. But this is going to be a tough one for him. Our game is now loaded up. Let's go to game number 2.
GSL SuperTournament, Season 1, Semi-Finals, Match 1. Classic.
Staring at that production tab. I want to see if he goes gas again.
Yeah.
Dark.
Verting into normal play here from Classic. The trick didn't work last time. It's not going to work this time.
I would not be surprised if every single game that we have here... Oh, from Taiwan. Thanks for coming down. We've been to Taiwan a couple times. Great place.
Oh, I love Taiwan, yeah.
Super chill people down there.
One of my favorite places. Like great esports.
Whoa. That's not an expansion.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was drinking my coffee. What?
So the proxy hatchery, if I do recall correctly, we did see him do a proxy hatchery here, but in the third base location. I believe it was against Zest in the round of 8 of GSL Code S. And it was a Ravager Queen push, if you recall.
So this is kind of crazy because, and the Observer just showed us on camera, there are gold bases on this map. So I think a Protoss player might be like, oh, you scumbags, you're going to take a gold base.
Yeah.
And then you got the player, he's thinking all about, oh, greedy bastard, he's going to try to, okay, this is not a normal game. So the probes look around, see, here he goes. He's like, is it this one?
Yeah.
And so he's going to see that and say, what? He took the other gold base? But no. Dark is you see he's checking everywhere.
Man, Dark really
this
thrown
is cool.
Classic for a loop. Classic knows there's something out there somewhere.
Yeah.
He even checked his own third base location. I like how the Observer's showing the places that he might check next. It's like, and look, there he checks the third base of the Zerg.
He's freaking out right now.
There was some quality observing going on over there, man. He knows.
Shine is killing it right now.
He's like, it's got to be somewhere. It's got to be somewhere.
It's not there. He's like, what? So did he check? Okay, so he's looking here, but it's not there either. He's like, what?
Is it just late? Oh my god.
I actually can feel the anxiety for Classic from here, man.
Well, he's
because you don't have no idea what on earth is going on.
Yeah.
He's shading out. Okay, I guess I better scout. And traps. I'm sorry, Dark is about to activate the trap here.
Yeah. A couple Lings gonna be popping in immediately. So now he's got a better idea that it's somewhere in the bottom left of the map. Okay, that Stargate is going to be finishing up. Definitely going to be useful in trying to hold this.
So he sees the Queen. Okay, he actually finally knows where that hatchery is, but this is quite late. Now that doesn't mean that Classic 100% loses, but this is really, really hard to deal with.
Yeah, Void Ray is going to be made, so probably a good choice. But
dude,
this front is not even closed, man.
Oh man,
this is a huge issue.
2 Adepts are out.
Oh boy.
Okay, Pylon goes down. Pylon goes down. There we go. And there's going to be more reinforcements coming here. Now, the Void Ray is coming up, but I just don't know if that's, there's going to be so many units. I don't think the Void Ray can really attack everything.
Yeah, with 2 Queens, you're not going to be able to do too much with the Void Ray, unfortunately.
Dark was so sneaky here.
Yeah. He really played Classic like a fiddle. Like, Classic scouted so many locations, he just couldn't find it.
Yeah. Really, really, really smart play here by Dark. Man. Look at this. He's even morphing the Roaches into Ravagers to buy time. It looks like we're going to be going into Game 3. Wow, this might be a shorter day than I was expecting it to be.
It could be. Classic having a very tough time in these first 2 games. Man, nothing going right for him. It looks like he wants to stay in the game. For anyone that recalls, or doesn't recall, I guess, rather, Dark vs. Zest, when it was a similar build and it was Void Rays from Zest, Zest held on to his natural for like 10 minutes and still couldn't win.
Yeah.
So just to put that out there, it like the fact that he's staying in this game, you can't blame him, but the odds of him winning from here, very close to 0, I would say, with how good Dark is with this build.
Yeah, very smart build chosen here by Dark. By the way, he has to have, assuming that Dark wins this series, he has to have a lot of good PvZ strategies just because of the number of Protosses. He's the only Zerg left in this. It's just a bunch of Protosses. So.
Yeah. All right, healing up those voids, but look at the Spore coming up, plenty of transfusions.
Now, there are plenty of ways to close this game out here if you're Dark, which makes it doubly scary for Classic. Now, Dark is on just 1 base. I mean, he's got this weird hatchery in the middle of the map, but this is not by the minerals. Now, generally speaking, you would make this by the minerals so you could then mine from there, but that's why this was so effective, is he hit it in a basically useless spot because he wanted to have, he wanted to pack a big punch coming into this. So far, he has. I mean, Classic was completely and totally duped. He had no idea what was going on.
By the way, Warp Gate never even finished as well, so he's got to restart that at this point. It looks like the Oracles and Void Rays going across the map. Hey, there's only 1 Spore here, actually.
He's actually
going to bust this base. Oh my god, this is going to be one of these crazy games.
Okay, so he's going to take this out. Again, there's no expansion hatchery. Dark doesn't have the money to make another base.
He needs to kill drones. What is he? Oh god. Well, he's going to have to recall it. Realistically, is what he's going to have to really do. Look at the Queens actually stuck because of that stasis.
Yeah.
That 1 Ling blocking the ramp forever.
So he's trying to shuffle up onto the high ground. Now, meanwhile, Classic's back, trying to destroy the hatchery. There is a chance. Okay, he takes this out, so Dark doesn't have a base. Oh my god, this is so crazy.
Long distance
What is going on?
Okay, here come the probes.
Okay, he unpowers the Stargate.
He has to be able to kill all the Queens here, and then the Void Rays obviously can finish up everything, but...
I think he's just got enough. Yeah. There's enough anti-air here. Yeah. That's it, GG. Whoa. That was actually quite close there, though, at the end. The fact that Dark had no hatchery that was next to minerals, I mean, he was long-distance mining, that was crazy. That goes to show you Dark cannot let his guard down for a second.
Oh, certainly.
But, man, poor Classic, he's down 0-2.
A very quick 0-2 as well. You know, he pulled the trigger in Game 1, and Game 2 got a little bit tricked out. He scouted, let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times, 5 different bases, yeah. 5 or 6 bases he scouted for that hatchery, and then he re-scouted the first one. He's like, no, it must be there. And it was, but just to the right a bit. So that is really rough.
Oh, man. Can Classic actually come back? Map 3 is going to be on Backwater. Classic has not even managed to get into late game here, which is normally what we consider Dark's strongest point.
Well, Dark is so strong
shut
everywhere.
Down Classic in every way imaginable. So Classic needs to come back and win every game from here on out against a Zerg player, or he's out. And once again, losing in the Final 4 of the Super Tournament. All right, our game's loaded up. Let's go. Classic versus Dark, Game 3.
GSL Super Tournament, Season 1. Semi-finals. Match 1. Classic. Dark.
Kind of interesting to see Classic's story developing like this, where he seems unbeatable against Protoss players and Terran players. Hell, he beat SOS and Maru to get to this stage, and then he hits someone like one of the very top world Zergs. And I mean, this is a rough start. I don't want to write his obituary yet, but the way those 2 games worked, the way that they looked, it's not looking super promising for our Protoss player here.
Yeah, unfortunately not. But let's not give up on him yet. I think that, especially in Game 2, that was impressive because I think any Protoss player at this caliber could have lost to that. I mean, Dark did a strategy that you probably can't do that again in a televised match, by the way.
Oh, that proxy hatchery play?
Yeah.
He played off of what he did last time to Zest.
Correct.
And he just changed it just enough that it worked on Classic.
Yeah.
You can't change it any more than that,
yeah,
right?
So that's like a strategy you throw out there, and it's like, well, I probably can't do this, assuming that my opponents watch what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And he did that specifically because he knew his opponent prepared for that.
If he were to do something like to play off this image again, I feel like where he would have to expand would be like the corner of the map, like top right corner, just to get Protoss to play defensively or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where they're looking everywhere, and they're looking on the sides too, because they know that Dark is very good at hiding hatcheries. But somewhere where it wouldn't be a rush space build. But yeah, the actual rush itself, I can't see it working again for a long time.
And people that are watching this and want to copy what they do, I wouldn't even say that would work that well online now. People have seen that. That was very specifically made to take Classic down in the second game of the semifinals of this best of 5. So, really cool stuff. From here, Dark can actually, I think, play, kind of do whatever he wants. I mean, he's got room to make mistakes, right? He's in very, very, very good shape being up 2-0 and winning the way he has.
Yeah, no doubt. And now he's on this big macro map, you know? It's one of these maps where it's really hard to kill your opponent early on. Very easy to defend on your 3 bases. It's a long map as well, so... I mean, definitely there's a chance that we get into a longer game here. Not that Classic's bad in that situation, but Dark is one of those Zergs that really knows what he's doing.
To what you were saying earlier, it is true that it's kind of unfortunate that Classic is so good against other Protoss players. He's great against Terran players, but he does seem to struggle against Zerg players.
Well, it's not just Zerg players, it's like the very best Zerg players.
Yeah, like the top 3 or 4,
it's like he's running into a brick wall. And then, like, the thing is, I bet you if we put him against, like, a very good Zerg, like a Codes Zerg,
yeah,
but it's not like a Dark or a Rogue, I bet you he'll smash them. And in fact, when we see him play against those other Zergs, he does generally smash them. But then, like, these guys that just kind of, like, are reading his moves and know what he's up to, it's crazy. They destroy him. Like, we've seen it. Like, look at him versus Rogue from Katowice.
Yeah.
It was painful.
Yeah, it's something else, right? He hasn't quite ironed out all the little wrinkles in this matchup specifically. And think of this, if he beats Dark and he comes back and actually wins the next 3 games, I think he wins this whole tournament. I don't think the other Protoss players can beat him. But in order to be the best StarCraft player in the world, you have to be good at all 3 matchups. You have to be completely on top of it. And I can imagine if he loses this here today, he's going to go back and really keep grinding out this matchup.
It's so true. He's got to get himself over it if this is just the only thing holding him back. If it wasn't for these pesky Zerg players, we'd make an argument that he's the best player in the world right now.
For sure. So he's coming here. He's killed off 3 drones there. Now I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary here for Classic so far.
It's as like standard as can be.
He's just going to go for at least for 2018 the most standard route for a build. He wants to try to play head-to-head against Dark. Now, of course, we have to wait and see if Dark is going to do anything crazy. So far, everything looks pretty ordinary from Dark as well. But of course, this map allows you to play a more normal game, so I don't see why Dark would want to mix it up. Hey, great job killing more workers there by Classic as well. 4 more kills.
Yeah, pretty strong harassment with those oracles so far.
Actually, every game he gets oracles against Zerg, he actually does get in there and kill a couple workers.
Yeah, he's pretty good with that oracle micro. Prism coming out now. Charge is on the way as well as +1. Templar Archives coming up. Going to try to harass, at least keep Dark back. Dark is getting pretty quick Hydras here. But, this is, again, one of those maps where it's really not that hard to defend. If there was multiple angles that he might be able to come in and attack from, then that would be one thing. But here, not that big of an issue, right? If the Hydras attack, they have 1 route to go. So that's the only area he really needs to think about. And other than that, just going to do some harassment of his own.
Behind this, Classic is powering up. I just caught the tail end of that. What was just killed?
Phoenix.
They actually lost the Phoenix, okay.
Yeah, he kind of
I was
flew it
grabbing
in.
my coffee, and then I'm like, what?
He pushed an Overlord around a little bit and flew it in, and the Hydras killed it. Now the Oracle's kind of hitting this third while the Archon drop flies to the main, but there's Hydras going there to intercept. So kind of cool that he's trying to figure out how to get Dark to not be in the right position, but Dark, again, not falling for it.
It's one of the hardest things, one of the worst feelings, too, is when you're playing against a really good Zerg player where nothing you're doing is working. Like this, he's like, okay.
Because if nothing works long enough, you're just like, wow, you have a lot.
Yeah, I haven't done anything that's gone my way. So he denies the 4th base. That's pretty good. Maybe he'll dive in with these Oracles as these Hydras are chasing this.
This was a great move as well, right? Because he warped in the Zealots, brought the Archons towards the main. Now, if there's not enough units in the main, the Archons do something. If there are enough units in the main, he can force a cancel in that 4th. So he's just making these small, strong moves. It's not like he's gaining an advantage or anything. Dark is completely fine. But you know, he's applying this pressure and slowing Dark a little bit.
He's going to try to sneak it again. And, okay, not bad. There's actually not quite enough here. Now the Zealots are going to come in again. Hey, good.
Yep.
Good job there by Classic. He actually denies that base. Now these Archons are going to try to do as much damage as possible without being picked off. Especially important there for the Warp Prism.
This is clinical harassment. Like, you can really learn a lot just by watching the way that Classic is moving his units in and out.
And he's trying as much as he can to not overextend.
Yeah.
Even the Zealots, which are generally considered fairly expendable. Look at this. He's going to take out all those eggs there. That was pretty sick.
Yeah, that was super cool.
Now the Archons are going to try to target down, and this is one at the bottom, try to get some drones here. He's got to be careful, though. You cannot lose that Warp Prism. Wow.
Yeah.
Only shields.
This is some of the best harassment against good defense that I've seen, really, from Zerg players.
He's going to go for a bust here. He's making a ton of lurkers.
It's
I did not see this one coming, actually. But these lurkers are going to be able to set up at the bottleneck. No, they won't, because he's moving out. Excuse me. That was very important. I don't know if Classic knows this is coming, but it was very important he moved out and was not behind his buildings.
If he nails his Psy Storms, it's hard to imagine this lurker push killing him. And the thing is, there's still a Prism out on the map with 2 Archons in it. So this is the type of situation that I actually pretty much like for Classic. You know, he can continue to harass. There's so many units over here. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. The Lings go in and the Lings go out. Can't explain that.
Can't explain that, man. Okay, so he's tagged the army. This is going to be very hard for Dark to actually try to push through. Now, getting the Cybernetics Core could be handy. That's going to trigger Classic to come down here. Now, these Zealots are going to disappear in seconds.
Flanking, actually, with the Archons as opposed to doing drop harassment. That's fine, though. If you're leaving units at home, you're not reinforcing this push. Obviously, more Warp-ins from Classic are going to allow him to break that area.
And you know what? Classic's expanding faster than Dark. I think Classic can actually take this game.
Yeah, he's forced to cancel on that base 2-3 times so far. He's kept up strong harass, and then Dark hit this counterattack that didn't do really anything. He killed a gateway. Wowee!
Honestly,
Classic's looking fantastic.
Yeah, he's playing the game of his life. I think Dark underestimated him there a little bit with that lurker push. And now Dark has to defend against this attack that's going to be inbound. And realistically, guys, all that Classic has to do to Dark is keep Dark on 3 bases. Zerg always loses if they get too far behind on their bases like that. So
right now, just kind of roaming around the map. He has this Prism out, going towards that 3rd base. Handful of Hydras there to try to stop it. Ooh, trying to target down that Prism, but some nice micro coming up here from Classics. Even saves some of the Zealots. Still, he's moving forward, taking more ground on the map, hitting those watchtowers, keeping Dark in the dark.
I see what you did there, Artosis.
What did it take us?
No, it's just why you're one of the best, man.
Oh, it's a Classic move. What do you want?
Classic's continuing to roam here. You can see Dark's itching to try to counterattack, but Classic hasn't really committed. And Classic's grown more in supply, with Dark continuing to send out small armies to try to come in here and go around. But I do think it's very important that Classic actually attacks in here very quickly. Because this hatchery's done. Zerg's taking another base. Classic is almost maxed out. I don't feel like there's any special unit he needs to add in here. In fact, Classic may be playing too conservative.
Well, he's right now just kind of like trying to get the full Protoss tech at this point. We see a carrier being made.
Yeah,
we see the mothership being made.
By the time the mothership's done and or a carrier is out, Zerg's going to be in much better shape economically.
But Dark, I don't believe, is on Hive Tech, is he?
Is he not? Is there really
I do
no
not
Hive?
believe he's on Hive. I believe that he is actually still in layer tech. If he's still in layer tech, I love this call because, like, the only thing that he's doing well right now, Dark is sitting there macroing out layer tech units. If you get a bunch of your high-end tech units here as Protoss and just kind of build your army, the maxed out full tech army of Protoss will just wipe the slate clean of tier 2 Zerg.
The thing is, there's 17 Mutalisks on the way. Now, these 17 Mutas, I'm not totally clear on what the defense is on each expansion, at least right now.
Yeah.
But that could take out a ton of workers. However, if the Mutas are going to counterattack, then Classic can push through and take out these bases. With carriers on the way, interceptors being built here. I don't know about this, Artosis. The Mutas are now out. Classic's War Prism has been taken out. Probably worth losing, though, when you consider that now he at least knows that Mutalisks are coming.
Definitely agree with that. 3 Phoenixes at a time, Phoenix range on the way. All he needs to do is not take a ton of damage right now. When he gets a good 6 Phoenixes out with Phoenix range and +1 air, these Mutas are going to be dealt with easily.
So the Mutas are doing a ton of damage. Looks like he's going to try to come in here with a Storm. 1 Interceptor versus all these Mutalisks.
Yeah. All right, throwing down the Storm, just kind of zoning these out. 9 probes. This is not really that big a deal, to be honest. The Hydra attack trying to take out this 5th base. Not sure if it's going to be able to. He picks off a carrier. I mean, some good stuff coming from these Mutas for sure.
Yeah, he's doing a decent amount of damage. I mean, this is buying Dark time. That much is for sure. Dark's continuing to expand. I'm still going back to the point in time before these Mutas were made. Yeah. I feel like Classic should have attacked. He could have taken out those bases down there. Now we have Classic just staying back here and really trying to defend. And with Mutas out, you, for instance, can't, as we just saw exhibited there, you can't fly around with a War Prism and do damage. So this is actually a situation where Dark can win now.
Yeah, Dark has made a lot of good moves right in a row. Like, even that drone just kind of hold position there is very important. The Zealots were glitching out instead of just wrecking everything real quick. Here he's picked off a few extra Archons at that 5th base location. But these Mutas, okay, he's going Corruptor with it. I do like that because the Mutas are actually just not going to be able to do anything. Like, look at that defense. Mutas can't touch that. And now with Phoenix range, if Classic takes the time to micro this, he kills every Muta.
And now these Mutas, he's invested so much into them.
Well, Corruptor's coming out. You can fight against Phoenixes with Corruptor Muta.
Sure. Well, now you have a direct answer for the air. The combination of the two. Corruptors are beefy enough, then the Mutas can come in there and do the rest of the damage. So Classic's trying to stay active with these, while Classic's also trying to expand over here to the top center and secure that. But I'm worried. For the growth of Dark is getting scary here.
Ooh, get out of here!
Bruising everything.
Very good storms going off. The Phoenixes, though, continuing to micro. Eventually, they can pick off these Corruptors. But it buys a lot of time for Dark to try to move in on top of everything and kill off these Phoenixes.
Very nicely done here by Classic. Okay, here comes Dark now. Going to try to attack in. Some Immortals coming in from behind. Oh, it's too bad he didn't get that kill on that one.
Tries to pick off those Oracles, so that's kind of a nice move.
Dark's game plan here has just been to keep Protoss busy back at home. As long as Classic's cleaning up the messes that Dark's making back here, then there's not an easy opportunity to counter push here. Classic beginning to move out, though, heading southbound. Dark wants to do another counterattack over here in the north.
Yeah, I love how he's actually just being really active with his units all over the place. He's using mobility as best he can. Like, Classic actually has the proper counters, but moving those counters around can be a little bit difficult. Not the Phoenixes, but more so the rest of the army.
If he gets these angles right with these Phoenixes, he can box this into the corner of the map and kill it.
Yeah.
Look at this. How many Phoenixes is that? He's got 13.
Wow. Quite a few. About the same amount of Corruptors in here as well.
You know, the Archons pair pretty well with this. If he tries to go forward, the Archons are just going to one-shot everything in that clump. Does Classic just go for it now? He's all the way across the map.
Well, looks like he's harassing this expansion. By the way, Dark did sneak to the bottom left, but can he kill him with a full-on attack here? Like, what's the ground army look like exactly? It's pretty
I'm not
good.
clear. I mean, we've mostly been focusing on these air units here. The Mutas are going to counterattack here. This is pretty smart.
Maybe looking to force a recall at this point, realizing that ground army's really scary.
Corruptor's coming up here. They're going to be able to take out this mothership core, or mothership, rather.
Yeah, that's a great pickoff. Look at this. He's going to get the carriers as well.
So the question now is, can Classic actually do the counterattack? And he sends back half of his army, by the way. Ouch, a lot of Psystorms go down there. This game's a little bit tricky to follow. But this push is continuing on over here. That's enough Archons that the Mutas can't just go back and kill it.
God, they're both making so many high-level, difficult-to-make decisions right in a row that
Everyone
are really working out.
Everywhere here.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a fight here in the middle of the map, and Dark is getting some better angling here on these Phoenixes. There is a push that's continuing on very slowly into Dark's, what was his third base. I believe the hatchery's been killed off there.
Just a beautiful game from both sides.
Yeah.
Dark trying to pull this together with these air units.
If these Phoenixes are killed off, though, I think Dark can take out the rest of this army.
Yeah. Well, the Ling's going to get on top of these Archons. Some nice Mutalist Micro as well, trying to avoid Archon volleys into the Mutas.
Okay, he actually wins this entire fight.
Yeah.
That Classic somehow is at 170 supply. I don't know in what exactly. I guess he's making carriers.
Yeah, he's got some carriers. He has a ludicrous amount of High Templars, 10 right now, and 4 Archons still exist. So these air units still not going to do that much. I mean, whatever he makes, really, Psystorm's going to be pretty good against it. And the carriers are going to be hard to kill.
So Dark's trying to come up here, and that's it. Dark taps out. He uses his calculus and says, okay, that's actually just too much. Classic's won his first game. By the way, that was Classic playing a normal game.
Yeah, that was a great game, too.
He decided to not be sneaky, not be tricky, and he took it.
Very standard play out of him. It was a good map for the type of strategy he chose as well. He could be a little bit extra greedy. I think that one of the very key things, and it's not necessarily the most flashy thing you've ever seen, but the in and out with the Warp Prism, forcing cancels on the 4th base and doing Archon harassment against the Hydra defense. The amount of times he did that and the amount of value he got out of that was actually immense. It was like, you want to learn about how to move your units and read what the Zerg has and punish over and over. That was fantastically done. I'm going to rewatch that. That was great.
Yeah, it was a very interesting game. Now, I got to point out that Dark tried this Lurker push. I think a lot of the game was lost after the Lurker push failed. And I don't think there was anything that made it necessary to do that. I think he just thought he could throw Classic off. He might have not even been fully respecting Classic after those first 2 games to do the Lurker push like that, because it didn't seem like it matched anything that would add up with the timing of the game. I don't know. I'll talk more about that in a second. We're going to Game 4.
GSL SuperTournament, Season 1, Semi-Finals, Match 1. Classic. Dark.
Yeah, so to what I was saying before we had to hop right in the game, it just didn't seem like you needed to do that Lurker push at that moment. There wasn't any clear weakness that the Protoss really had. I think he just thought the Protoss was going to be behind his buildings. Now, if the Protoss does get behind the buildings, then, okay, maybe you do actually a good amount of damage. But the moment that Classic was actually out, it just seemed like from there, Dark had lost too much.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about maybe he expected to be able to get there before Classic had moved out from behind his buildings, because if he does, that delays the 4th base for an extremely long time. You just can't take a 4th until you actually break through.
It's actually an old strategy Zergs would do against Protoss in StarCraft 1. Yeah. Just get a bunch of Lurkers out there, and the Protoss spent so much time trying to bust that out while the Zerg's expanding pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
Because a couple Lurkers, especially if you can gun down their detection like the Observer, and I know that, for instance, you can tag the Lurkers in StarCraft 2, but if you throw a few extra Lurkers in there and they can't see everything, they never really get out. That's a technique that can work. We don't see it employed a lot in StarCraft 2, but it's an idea that's been tossed around historically in StarCraft.
But, definitely a good game coming out of Classic. Glad to see him put his name on the board there, because those first 2 games definitely were so heavily Dark dominated and Dark favored. See what he goes for this game. Eastwatch is another really big map. Not quite as easy to take all your bases, but it's very doable to get your 3rd up here. Immediately, a Stalker as well as Warp Gate. And this, he did this last time, right? Or in game 1 rather, and did a Stargate with it. So that kind of sets up this build well, but this should just be a DT-based Archon drop, I would imagine. That's normally what you see when you see Stalker first, especially when you see a Twilight right after. We don't see a Robo yet, so definitely could be going down a different road. Just the fact that he's made the Stalker is something that can...
There it is.
Yeah, okay.
Robo coming down now.
Ah, charge. Okay.
Is he going to do that thing we saw?
Yes.
Who did this last time? Was it Stats?
Everyone in the world, but yeah, Stats.
Stats,
Definitely.
but most recently, yeah. So this comes out pretty fast.
This is...
And so sometimes the Zerg just gets run over by it. Now, the fact that we saw the Stalker get made is pretty important, because obviously Dark's saying, okay, what are you trying to hide? I know that you're going to try to do something, I just don't know exactly what that is.
This is the most deadly build, I think, that exists right now. Like, it will roll you over if you're not ready. But Dark is looking like he's probably going to be ready. He's actually on 2 bases, going lair, has a Roach Warren, he's getting Roach upgrades. Like, I mean, I'm not sure why he's chosen to play like this.
So they're both trying to do something outside of an ordinary game, but now they're both just doing weird builds, and I don't even know how this works against what this game's supposed to look like.
You know, this could be because of the map as well. This map in particular, your third base, your gases are not where an Overlord can see them. And if you're on 2 bases for this long with no gas, that's kind of a tell. But you can't see the gases with your Overlord here.
I think you're completely correct
about that.
It's
a very good map for something like this.
On some level, it might have been almost predictable then. If you really break it down and say, okay, yeah, no, he would not be able to see my gases, so this is probably the ideal cheesy build to do. But he's coming out. But again, normally Zergs are on 3 bases. This is a Zerg powering Roaches. Roaches are fine against Zealots if the numbers are mathed out correctly.
And the fact that he's making a spine defensively here, and he's going to have +1 as well as Roach speed, Dark should be holding this.
Now, I would imagine Classic could still try to play a normal game from here, but this is kind of funny that this is the direction it ended up going in.
Right now he's sitting there at the third, like,
This is not the game either player planned to have.
Yeah.
Both hoping the other one would play more normal. And instead, here we have the Zealot Rush.
Dude, that Creep Tumor that popped out, I'm pretty sure that used up the charge on most of his Zealots.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, it makes it a lot harder to actually engage right there. But he brings his units into the main base here. Oh my god, the natural is being held easily. The main is being held. So look at that drone hold position, screwing up the Zealot AI.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be enough for Protoss here. The rest of these Roaches are coming up. It's now just this Warp Prism here in the main, and these Roaches can take out these Zealots pretty easily.
Yeah. This is not really a problem. Like, he's warping in more Zealots. He's trying to have a fight here. The Stalker definitely adding in a bit of damage, but Roaches with speed and +1, he's holding this brilliantly.
Now, that being said, it's still 2 base versus 2 base. Oh, don't do that.
Oh, poor Classic. Okay, he's taking his gases. That's the give up right there. He's got to start probes up again, though, as well. He's about 12 probes shy of full saturation now that he wants to mine gas again.
So, still, though, Zerg's on 2 bases. Zerg now at 40 drones. And I guess we're going to go into sort of what... They're going to have to try to go towards a more ordinary direction here for this matchup. Now, imagine that Zerg had 3 bases when that attack went off for Protoss. There's a very high chance Zerg starts to lose the game, but...
Oh, yeah. Well, you're going to probably kill one of the bases.
Right.
We see even there, right? He, like, lost a bunch of queens. He did lose a bunch of roaches. He had to pull drones out of one of his locations. It would have been an easy kill on a 3rd base, for sure, I would say.
So the drone manages to live. He's going to try to make that hatchery one more time. He's got to be careful. You can't afford to lose this Warp Prism.
Very true about that. Making some Immortals at home. He's got to keep him busy, though, at the same time. If Dark can just walk across the map right now, it becomes a little bit dirty for Classic. You know, you can make some Ravagers and do some bombs there. Classic won't be able to take a 3rd base anytime soon.
Is there a chance if enough Immortals come out that a follow-up push just ends up doing fine for Classic here?
I don't think so. Not this time, just because the Immortals are starting a bit late. He's already got the +1. He's already got a good Roach count out, so he can make a lot of Ravagers. So, yeah, I don't think that there's just a straight-up 2-base follow-up push. And
I think taking the gold in this case, that's a great response as well.
Yeah, I think that's smart.
Zerg could not take the gold as easily because the Warp Prism can still harass it. Either that or the main. Yeah, Classic is handling this very well.
Now, the Overseer flew over and saw those rocks being taken down. He also has an Overlord at the third base and didn't see anything, right? Okay, he's seen a pylon there with the Overseer, but
that should be enough.
Just the fact that Classic was killing the rocks, then walked away as the Overseer flew over, he's trying to not show him that he has a gold base. He's trying to say, hey, I'm going for a 2-base all-in, but that is absolutely not the case.
Classic still trying to monitor Dark as best he can. And any little poke-ins that he does here that kill workers, for instance, is going to be worthwhile. Roach is now coming down, trying to take out the remainder of these units.
The Roach attack on this gold base is just going to have to be canceled. It cannot stay up. Is he actually turning around? What?
I think he's playing pretty shy here, Artosis.
Yeah, no, he ends up canceling it. He knows.
Is Dark just going to do it? The number of Roaches is pretty scary. The only thing that Protoss really has going for him is these Immortals, but when you have Roaches and Ravagers in this high of a number, I mean, eventually the Zealots are going to get chewed up, and it's just going to be the Immortals. It becomes a numbers game from there. Now, Dark's doing a great job kiting back here. He's just hitting these Zealots and kind of staying out of Immortal range.
Yeah, it's very good micro, no doubt about that, but Classic he's not, like, gaining anything right now.
Yeah.
He's just kind of bleeding off units, trying to kill off units that Dark can easily lose.
Oh, dude, I think this is it.
Yeah.
Yep, he loses that last Immortal. I think we may see Classic, unfortunately, have to tap out here. I mean, he's got too much momentum. Classic opening up with a build that was intended to dismantle a 3-base Zerg, but Dark had already opened up with a completely different strategy. Massing up a bunch of Roaches, had that answer. Classic tries to take that gold base, and Dark comes in with the closer.
Yeah, the Immortal's dealing silly amounts of damage, but it is absolutely not enough. Looks like Dark is going to go to the finals.
Yep.
Very convincing series out of Dark here.
Looking very strong against Protoss, for sure.
And kind of a sad story here, again, for
GG.
Classic. Eliminated right at the top of a tournament by none other than Dark.
Well, Dark's been complaining about Protoss being OP, but will he keep doing that if he wins this tournament against all the other best Protoss players?
Well, yeah, he's a StarCraft 2 Zerg.
Oh, that's true, yeah. He's
a StarCraft 2 insert race other than Protoss. Yes, he'll continue to complain about that. You'd take out the Adept and the Oracle, and you'd probably still do it. All right. Dark goes on to the finals. 3-1 over Classic. Classic, I mean, this guy is hitting the top of all these tournaments, but unable to finish.
Unfortunately, his PVZ is not up to par. PvP, PvT, he might be the very best in the world, but against Dark, it's kind of crazy, the difference in how those games pan out, especially compared to some other players like Stats or even SOS historically, who seem to have just an overall better grasp on the matchup.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested to see whoever comes up out of the next PvP, how they're going to deal with Dark. They've seen a lot of his builds. They kind of know the way he wants to play. He's already used some of his mind games against Classic as well.
We got a mirror matchup coming up next on the other side of the semifinals, and we're going to go to that after this short break, so don't go away. We'll be right back.